Alright guys, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Not too sure what you guys thought about that topic yesterday that I posted, I guess last night technically. But we're doing another one. This time it's same podcast. Cults to Consciousness. About this Mormon couple. So they have I don't know if it's a show or a movie, but anyways, it's on Hulu. It's called Mormon No More. Mormon No More on Hulu. It's about an LGBT couple that left Mormonism. I don't know if they identify specifically as cis or lesbian, but I don't know, female born, assigned female at birth, and not straight. So basically, when it comes to topics that they were listing, you can go to their website. They have a podcast called Peace Out Podcast. They have a website called SallyandLena.com. That's SallyandLena.com. So Sal, or Sally, but I think she goes by Sal, and then Lena, the wife. They talk about their story. So some topics that I thought that were interesting that came up is the topic of understanding sexuality in a strict religion. And so I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, I've recorded on this before a little bit, but I was thinking about, sex ed, I was thinking about, my not really thinking about my parents, but like kind of thinking about like my experiences as a young person with sexuality and how that was. And all I remember really was, there was definitely some like, you definitely know and learn, not to talk about it, not to, engage with it, not to want to be curious about it. But I noticed that I was like, okay, like people are telling me to just stay so far away from this topic, and it was so like hush hush and like don't speak on it, even to the point of, like I never, like my folks never like had sat down and had like some kind of birds and bees talk with me or anything, like ever. In a way I'm kind of grateful, because I'm like, geez, I don't think I could handle that conversation with them. Like we don't really talk like that, so that would be just like ultra awkward. But yeah, never. And they're very reserved, very religious, very conservative. And that's fine if that's how they want to live and do things, but I am not, I'm not very, I can come across as pretty reserved. I was raised in a religion that, I was researching it a little bit, and I was like, was it a cult? Like, it seems like it could have potentially been a cult. Like, oh wow, I didn't expect that. But I don't think I was raised exactly in a cult, but I could see how other people around me were kind of cult-ish, and there were definitely some other congregations that, were very cult-like. But I would say the specific, services I went to that I engaged in regularly were just, it was very similar to like just typical Christianity, just more so focused on like your lifestyle of it, like day to day stuff too, not just like go to church on the weekends. Like they focused more on like, you know, your eating habits, your health habits, your social habits, your entertainment habits, like definitely keeping that into focus during the week and not just like, oh, it's Sunday, go to church. It was like, you know, yeah, you have a work week and stuff too, but you know, that's structured also. Like it wasn't like specific guidelines, but there were definitely like books, Ellen G. White books and stuff that you could read about like how to kind of live your life and you know what not to eat, what not to drink, where not to live. You know, like cities weren't recommended because of the, you know, because of pollution and the stress from the noise and just you know the hustle is maybe not the best for your mental health compared to like the countryside. Um, which you know some of these things, you know, there's a lot of truth to a lot of the health stuff that they mentioned, but then again, there was a lot of like, I feel like it was not truthful. Some of the other stuff is like, you know, through studying psychology, I'm like, I don't know, that's a little, you know, not too accurate. Maybe like all the kind of like extreme self-discipline to the point where you're like denying yourself of natural needs, like definitely when it came to like sexuality, that was a thing, you know, and I don't think that is helpful. Like I don't know, I think like sexuality and expression and you know actions and things are more of a personal thing, and it's up to the individual to kind of decide kind of what they want to do with it. I don't think that, I mean, I think, you know, yeah, safe sex practices, consent, you know, things like that. But I think outside of that, people don't really need to be worrying about what other people are doing. Um, you know, I think between the people that are involved with one another, they can figure that out. I don't think they need like a church or like a leader or some person taking some leadership role being like, oh, you need to do it this way or like not do it with these people or you know like you know, I think that's, it's kind of where churches take it too far. Like I don't think they need to be like patrolling, you know, people's sexuality, but they would say otherwise. They think that they really need to. Like that's a big, I think that's a big topic in a lot of churches, a lot of religions. And so this episode, you know, let me see, gotta get back into this phone here. This episode, when it comes to understanding sexuality in a strict religion, I think usually those religions assume that people aren't really going to be understanding of them. That people, you know, they kind of try to keep younger people in the dark. So even if they're going through, you know, some types of thoughts about like sexual stuff, like the kids kind of don't really know what the heck is going on. And you know, usually, you know, yeah, I don't know. This isn't. I'm not gonna talk too much about my own experiences here. Let me just dive into kind of what they were saying. Yeah, that usually like, you know, it's gonna be kind of hard to understand because people are usually telling you certain stuff about your sexuality. Like one of them was mentioning, you know, because they're very like femme, you know, and therefore straight passing, um, that, you know, people always were telling her she's straight, and so she never thought past it. And you know, that's something that I've heard common in like religions with, you know, you know, women. I mean, I experienced the same thing, you know, and I don't think I'm very straight passing. I'm not very feminine at all. But I just thought, in my head, somewhere I got the idea that, oh, I'm just young and, or maybe not as, mature as some of the other females. That's why I kind of still like to run around with the boys and play sports and not wear dresses and not wear bras and not really into that. Like, I just kind of assumed it was because I was still like like not quite mature enough. Not that it not like not mature like that, but just kind of like, you know, I wasn't like ready to grow up and be like an adult or whatever. And I always pictured, okay, somewhere down the road in the future when I'm like in my professional career and I'm like, in my 30s or something, I'm gonna love like wearing dresses and makeup and all that. And it's just, I'm still a kid, so, But then as I got older, I'm like, I still am still not interested in any of that kind of stuff. Uh, and people telling me that I'm straight, or even when my friends who were part of a church that weren't straight were like kind of coming out a little bit. Some of them weren't, and then I'd always get messages from my parents, like not like text, but like the message I got in the household was, they're too young, they don't know, they're too young to know. And it's kind of interesting that I think with queer people, that's something common that people say is like they're too young to know. But when a little like 5-year-old kindergartner has a crush on another one and they're holding hands or hugging or something like that, and people are joking around like, oh, are you guys gonna get married someday? And like, they could say like some little girl's like, oh, he's my boyfriend or whatever, or some little boy's like, she's my girlfriend. People aren't like, you're too young to know. You're too young, to know if you're gay or straight. Like, they don't say that to straight kids, they only say it to gay kids. And so, and also, in strict religions, if they even do have sex ed, they're usually teaching abstinence until marriage. Um, you're really only supposed to have sex within the confines of marriage in most religions. I don't know of too many religions that say otherwise, especially the strict ones. And, expressing sexuality is also not allowed. You're not really supposed to talk about it too much. If you are, you're supposed to be pretty serious about it, and it's supposed to be like, usually like a conversation of topic. It's not really supposed to be like there's definitely like even unspoken rules about like how to talk about certain things. So with Mormonism, I'm not sure like how people are supposed to do it, like what the actual rules are with discussions and stuff. But yeah, when people start questioning their sexuality, I don't know if most religious people question it later. I don't really know, but I have definitely come across a lot of people who were raised in the strict religion that maybe didn't really know that about themselves till later. Like, I was one of those people. I kind of like never put the pieces together because other people were always telling me other things, and so I was just like, well, I don't know what to think, Like, I remember specifically just like on purpose just being like, I'm never gonna look at a woman, like never, like just being like never, like I'm not gonna look, like I would even go on, like, I've talked about this before, how like, I've gone on adult sites before, like when I was like maybe a little older, and yeah, like I've gone on these sites before when I was, I wasn't like that young when I first came across stuff, but I knew of it, and we had internet and everything, so I was able to figure it out. And so yeah, I you know went. I basically, I forgot what I was trying to say. I remember not knowing. Dude, what was I saying? I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry. There's some surfers coming in from the water, and they're right next to my car now. So I had to roll up the window and forgot what I was saying. But yeah, I guess when it comes to like questioning of stuff, like I remember like like when I started getting into watching like adult sites and stuff, I remember, usually it was like catered towards like straight males, but I did find male gay porn to be more interesting than all the other stuff. And because I was not interested in like looking at women, or I was very like strict with myself about it, and like usually women would be popping up anyways, like in the advertisements and all that kind of stuff. And I remember specifically I would like put my hand over the screen, like I'm not gonna look at them. And then like I don't know how old I was, but I was, I don't know how old I was. It was probably before college, but I don't remember, because I remember I got to think about what computer I was on. If I was on a desktop computer, it was before college, and so probably sometime in high school. I don't really know. And then I guess I never knew how to delete browser history, and then I guess once our dad found out that there was some stuff in the household browser history, he started getting a little angry with that and threatened to take away the computer. And then that's when I kind of was like, well, I'll just stop watching it then. Because I mean, I wasn't the only kid in the household, so I don't really know if it was just me or who all was doing it. But because me and my siblings never really talked about that, but none of us said, oh, it wasn't me, so it's like it was probably all of us. And then as far as oppression, like from religions, yeah, there's definitely the oppression, especially when you're LGBT. A lot of times they're not gonna cater to you or anything. Like I don't watch too many church services, but like I said, I was raised in a religion, and every now and then, I'll tune in. And yesterday I tuned in to what was Saturday's church service. I tuned into it yesterday because they archived them on YouTube, and it's a service in Hollywood, in LA. And I went on there and saw the people on there. And I don't mind skipping like the beginning of stuff, but it was some kind of a weekend that was like a little more special than others. I don't know, they call it like fellowship weekend or something. And I didn't finish the whole service, but I got past like the song service. But the intro part was really cool because they had a lot of it had like rainbow color PowerPoint stuff, and even like the thumbnail had like rainbow colors on it, and I was like, okay, this is a very affirming church. And so I tuned in, to watch part of it, because I was like, let me just start up my week, just see what it's like to start up my week like this, because I don't do it every week, but every now and then I'm like, I get pulled in, and especially because I've been studying religious topics, it kind of was like, maybe I want to kind of engage with that content a little bit sometimes. And I really liked that, they were very open about like sexuality and gender, being accepted, all sexualities and genders being accepted. Like they say it in their welcome, they said it in their mission statement, like they went over it very clearly a couple times and written like up on the screen, and people just talking about it over the microphone on the stage. And so I was like, I feel like a lot of churches and religions, even when they are maybe like friendly, they don't outwardly just like directly say it. They'll be like, yeah, we accept all. And this church is different. They were like, yeah, regardless of creed, ethnicity, race, financial situations, backgrounds of all kinds. Like they're just like, everybody's welcome here. And they made it very clear that when you walk in the door, you should feel welcome. Like you should never feel otherwise. And I was like, I didn't get that far into watching everything, but I was just like, I think people need to hear that. That to me is not considered oppressive. But there are these other religions where, you have a different status. Like, I know in Mormonism, you're expected to get have and get a certain status, um, do mission work, do all these different types of things, and you have these temple services and all this other kind of stuff, and there's like ranking, like hierarchies. I can't speak to this intelligently, but basically there are the people, like there's levels that you can kind of reach to some extent, kind of like some secrecy up there, um, and they spoke to staying silent due to oppression, which a lot of people do, because they're like, well, I'm not gonna speak up about this. I've spoken up about it, and somebody tried to shut me down, like not about being queer or anything, but I was speaking up just about, I kept it at a topic that other people could kind of get, but, you know, long story short, I was sat at a table with a bunch of pastors from a lot of different churches, but the same denomination, and it was like this kind of conference kind of thing, and, they were just, a lot of the pastors were trying to hear the input, and I ruffled some feathers because I wasn't, being kind and polite, and, I was being a little, assertive, and, also I'm a woman, and also I'm black, and so, like, of course, there's other factors that are going to play a role, in me being assertive. People are sometimes going to take it a different way, but I was just speaking to kind of how the homeless were treated, things I witnessed that I didn't agree with, how people in poverty were being like shooed away from doorsteps just because it didn't look right. And it's like, well, feed them then, like don't just be like, oh, you can't sit here with your cart all day long on the step because there's like shade here in the middle of a service or in the middle of the week, like, and they're just posted up there, and it's like they're there because it's a church, it's like, but I've seen people kind of not be treated well, just because, I part of me gets it, but another part of me was like, this isn't right. Like, you see these people, they're local people that live on the street, they're locals, and you're not going to help them, it's like, they're part of the community locally, and it's like, because they're not a member of the church, I mean, they weren't even being disruptive, they weren't like singing or dancing or talking, acting weird or anything. They were literally just sitting in the shade, you know. And I know that's not allowed, but also it's like, they're there because it's a church. Like, maybe they used to be that religion. Like, maybe, talk to them a little bit. Like, because they clearly keep showing up. Um, but I kind of opened that just to kind of see where these other pastors would kind of go with that. And I kept on and kept on and kept on, and then one of the guys was like, they had this topic, I don't know, I don't want to get all into it, but basically one person was trying to be like, well, maybe your heart's not in the right place, because I was being a jerk, and I was like, well, yeah, it's not in the right place. And then I was like, we started talking about these topics about like love and stuff like that, and I'm just like, yeah, so how easy is it for you to love me when I'm sitting here being an asshole, kind of thing. Like, I didn't say it like that, but it was kind of just like, yeah, it's not that easy. Like, you guys want to talk the talk, but it's like, I don't know, sometimes I see straight through it, and I'm like, okay, like, I got under this guy's skin, um, and I'm not even a member of his congregation, and, he felt like he could call me on it, and he wasn't even like asking like what's wrong, like, he's just like, annoyed that I wasn't speaking kindly of the church, and I wasn't even talking about their specific congregation. I was just talking in general about the church as a whole, like the whole denomination of what I've witnessed in local areas. And I don't even think they were from the same area, and so they were offended though, and I'm just like, that was the point. It's like, you should be offended that people are mad that you're not taking care of the homeless people. You should be offended that people are calling you out on, not taking care of the people. It's like, isn't that what the church is supposed to do, is to be there for the community and be there for the people? They're not supposed to be just collecting a check and, following all this other kind of weird, like, oh, we need to do these traditions and just leave everybody else out of it. Like, that's not the whole point. Like, you serve regardless, of who's needing your help. You don't just pick and choose, and you don't play favorites, and you know you don't BS. You know you play the role of a pastor, um and you do the work, but they expect it to not be challenged, and none of them were coming up with ideas or solutions or anything. They just avoided answering about solutions, and I was like, yeah, I'd like to see this kind of stuff addressed. And they were just like more interested in avoiding addressing it, and I was just like, okay. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear anything like that. They didn't want to hear any kind of criticism, even though it wasn't directed at them. Like, I'd never met these people before in my life. I had no clue who they were. They were older. I was probably in my 20s, maybe early 30s, and they were like probably in their 50s and older. And they weren't willing to listen to a younger generation. A lot of these people aren't. And I know not one pastor can just change like a whole situation, but I also know BS when I see it. And a lot of these places, they're not there for the community. They're not there to really help people. They're basically trying to take a leadership role where they're controlling and having power, and power over a congregation of people. And I'm not saying they're getting rich off of it or anything, but it's like there's something that's just not right. And I witnessed it, and I feel like the places I was engaged with were pretty good. Like, they weren't like so bad that it was like, ooh, like that's terrible. But they start talking here in this episode too about church doctrines and allies, that it helps if people who are allies specifically state that they're not interested in what those church doctrines have to say about LGBT people, and being able to voice a non-alignment with those doctrines, versus taking more of a passive role, and being like, oh, we accept you all, instead of being like that, being more like the service that I kind of tuned into the beginning of, where they were kind of saying a lot of stuff about, like, they didn't really say we don't align with church doctrines, but basically they were saying stuff that the church doctrines do not support. The church doctrines don't support, trans people. The church doctrines don't support gay people. They don't support gender minorities. They don't support any of that. And at that church, when you watch the services, if you're online or in person, you'll see it in person. You'll see people, involved in the service on the stage, and it'll be trans people. One of the lead singers that does the music is an openly queer female, and isn't expected to dress like wearing like dresses and all this other stuff. Like, they are a little bit on the masculine presenting side, and as far as I've seen this person online, they've always dressed as such, and they're up on stage almost every single week leading the music. It's like, it's very clear what's going on, at that church. Like, you walk in and you see yourself represented, on the stage and in the seats and everything. And in the, even for a church to put out like a like video footage on YouTube where you have rainbows and stuff on your on your thumbnail. I mean, like, that's obvious, you know? It's obvious what's happening there, you know? Like, you see it and you're like, huh, this looks a little queer supportive, or queer, you know? Um, and, you know, like I mentioned, like, I came from a strict religion, and this isn't Mormonism, but, you know, that's a bold move. That kind of stuff gets people in trouble. And I think, you know, they know that they're at risk of getting in trouble for, you know, not aligning with the church doctrines, you know? And I don't think they should have to, but I've seen people get, you know, excommunicated or reprimanded from that specific church because they weren't upholding the doctrines. And I worried because I was like, well, who's going to come in next? And I took a step back and was just like not even involved in any of it. And now whenever I tune in on occasion, I like what I see. You know, I like what I see. You know, I like seeing, you know, people who are trans up there on the stage, you know, as a deacon or as like some kind of role that, you know, I'm not saying that I care about whose role is what and all the kind of like church politics and stuff, but just to see it on a regular enough basis for someone like me who doesn't even really watch it on a weekly basis, and just to know that, like, if I do want to tune into a church as a queer person, I'm not going to be hearing all kinds of like nonsense and prejudice and oppressive kind of talk. They talk about having empathy and compassion for allies who struggle due to church control and fears. And so that's a big one. So I'm gonna leave it with that, you know. Stay tuned for my daily update. I'm gonna post that, tag that onto the end of this episode. Alright, so here comes my April 25th update. So after yesterday, April 24th, Monday, when I went and I recorded probably till about 11:30 or so. I don't know what time it was, honestly, but probably 11:45, 11:30, because I was focused on, you know, getting my meal in around noon. I think about the time that I headed to Subway yesterday was about the time that I was done recording at the beach. And then from there, I pretty much I went and ate at home, ate my Subway, half of it, save the other half for today. That's one thing I do a lot, is when I order food takeout to go, I try not to eat it all at once. First of all, because it's always so high in calories, and second, because it kind of gets more bang for your buck. Like, if I'm spending $10 on a sandwich, I might as well make it like a $5 a day kind of thing. But I ate that, kind of chilled for a while, and then I'd say around 2:30 or so, I finally made it out to the coffee shop, and studied till probably only 3:40. I think I stayed till 3:40 p.m. And then after that, I I studied till about 3:40, and then the reason why I did 3:40 was because of the traffic, the school traffic. So I found that 3:40 is better than 3:30 or 3:20 or 3 o'clock, because the schools get out like right around 3. So I try to avoid that situation. Wow, traffic over here is back the freak up. So I'm not gonna take this route. I'm gonna go up this. They're doing construction in my area. It's just so annoying. I don't know. I'm easily annoyed. But yeah, studied. I felt like it was like a little bit organizing, building up my LinkedIn. I was only able to build up the LinkedIn a little bit. I think it's because I max out how many people I can add and follow and all that. And I think you get within a week, you can only add like 80 something people, or I don't know. But I'm trying to get my account up to 500 or a little past 500. And last time I checked, that was a little past 300. I don't know how far. I want to say 366. I don't know. I can't remember. My memory's so bad right now. And so yeah, I did that. And you know, I felt pretty good about studying. It just feels weird too. It's like a good but weird feel. It's like I enjoy it. I get, you know, it's what I need to be doing, but it took me a while in the morning to kind of talk myself through some of the issues I was experiencing with actually doing what I need to do. It did take me a while to talk myself through things to kind of get going. And so it was the first day in a while that I've been kind of like back at it, and I'm okay with that, you know. I really do feel like my brain is pretty slow lately though. Like, even though I had coffee yesterday, you know, I feel like my energy never kicked in. I had like 9 milligrams worth of melatonin the night before, so maybe that was why. And then last night I had maybe like 4 or 5-ish milligrams of melatonin. But I don't know, man. Me and melatonin, I don't know how good it is for me, for my energy. Because this morning I had C4, like 100 milligrams worth, and it's not. I guess it's just not that good. Like, you know, like I need more energy than the amount of caffeine I'm willing to take. I do feel a lot of brain fog still. But also, you know, I haven't really worked out in maybe like 6 days or so. I think the last workout I did was on the 19th, and it's the 25th now. So, yeah. I think I did 2 days where I got in some stretching. But yeah. And last night, let me see. Well, yeah, yesterday evening, like after studying, you know, I felt good. I was like, okay, I had a pretty full day, you know, more full than a lot of days I've had recently. You know, I was out for multiple hours and in different spaces for multiple hours, even though it's like familiar spaces, but I wasn't in the house all day at all. Leaving the house twice was maybe a little much, but, you know, it's fine. And then from there, yeah, I just had dinner, supper, I don't know, I eat around like 4, kind of had a heavy meal, and then, yeah, I was kind of unwinding, and then I was gonna do some exercising in the house yesterday, just like dancing around to some music, and then I realized I don't really want to do that. I just wanted to listen to music, so I watched this Whitney Houston movie. And then, just started listening to music and just binge listening to music. I was mostly listening to gospel and R&B. Like, sometimes I just get in the mood for like some gospel music. What was that album? The album, it's this old album. I can't remember the name even, but it's like when Kirk Franklin and God's Property did that album that had Stomp on there and You Are the Only One. But yeah, I don't know, like that was probably the first mainstream gospel album that I ever knew about, and I kind of liked it because, back in the day I used to watch a lot of BET as well, and so, they would play some of the songs on there, and there was this one remix of You Are the Only One that I liked. Well, I mean, there's a lot of songs on there that I actually like. I try to study a little bit of like gospel music because I was raised in the church, like I say like a million times. I was raised in the church, but I was not raised in a church that regularly played like the typical kind of black style gospel music. It was more like contemporary Christian rock kind of style, like a little bit alternative rock, soft rock kind of music, a little, not country per se, but it almost had that vibe. Just kind of contemporary Christian. That's the easiest that I can explain it. And it was okay. It could be a little bit soulless, if that makes sense. Like, we did have some really skilled singers a lot of times too. And like, I always grew up around music like that and playing music in the church and stuff like that too. So, when I was watching that Whitney Houston movie, and then I started remembering like, all those experiences like playing music in the church, and that's something that I really actually do miss. And but yeah, so I did do that. I did play music in the church, and was thinking about it, reminiscing a lot about it yesterday. But I was actually able to listen to music till about 9:30 p.m. or so. And then I was able to, I started watching YouTube and stuff, and then I started feeling a little sleepy. But yeah, I kind of pushed past that melatonin drowsiness and hit another state of energy, and then I couldn't go back to sleep. So I think I was up to like 1 a.m. So between last night and the night before, I probably slept each night less than 7 hours, I want to say. So I'm a little sleep deprived. So that's probably contributing to my tiredness. Like, there's only so far that caffeine's really going to take me, and I know that I can't just skimp on sleep. And because I've been sleeping a lot better, technically, compared to how I was living my life like before 2023, because of all the stress and everything of work and of working in the mental health space. I wasn't doing well back then, and started doing better once I improved my sleep these last few months. But that's becoming still a battle. My insomnia is like, still a battle for me. And there's so many people here at the gym. But yeah, it's like a must, to work on mental health, to work on physical health, to work on my health in general. And so I'm still trying to keep it basic, guys. Like, I'm not even doing anything strategically like impressive. I'm just like, I'm literally just trying to sleep right, eat right, get some exercise. And it's hard enough for me to do those things, but it's like, I it's hard enough, even though I'm not working like a stereotypical 9-to-5 job, I still am finding it very difficult to do those things. And, part of it's a self-discipline thing. Another part of it is just, I know that I can push really hard, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, like if you're sleeping, like, I don't know, I don't really think like that, like, oh, if you're sleeping right, you're slacking off. But there is a part of me that's like very attracted to, and maybe I've been programmed a bit towards thinking about, waking up early versus waking up late, and it's hard for me to like sleep in. I have some views around it though, like that ultimately it's like better for me to like, not sleep in and stuff. So I don't really know though. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, how you're kind of like raised around certain ideas. And it's kind of part of it, that I was raised around, ideas of like waking up early and, having this kind of like schedule, in this early morning schedule. And, because of that, it is very hard for me to get out of that schedule. I'm not going to waste too much time in the car at the moment. I'm going to get into the gym. I'll probably start my workout in about 7 minutes, around like 10:30 by the time I get in the locker room and stuff. And then I plan on driving home. I'll see if I record on my way home. We'll see what my battery looks like on this app or on my phone. And then that'll be maybe my daily recording. But I'm going to see if I come across any food for thought while I'm in the gym. Because, sometimes I need to let my mind race. And I feel like this is one of these mornings where I kind of just need to let my mind just like unload, so that I can focus when I get into studying a little later on this morning. We'll see. Alright, guys, I'm about to leave the gym. Leaving the parking lot. I feel like I didn't do much, and by the time I get home and showered, it's probably going to be close to lunch, honestly. I have a protein shake. It's a plant protein by Orgain. I just put water, and it's powder, so it's like chocolate flavored protein powder. I usually just throw that into some water in a cup and toss it in the freezer until I get home after the gym. And so that's kind of what I'm gonna go home and have with my lunch. Once I arrive at the house. Gotta check if I left my wallet. I don't think I left my wallet, but I feel like I left my wallet. Shoot. I'm not seeing it in my bag. Shoot. Maybe I left it at home. I thought I put it in my bag because I usually do because of my ID, but I also don't see it in here. I don't know. hopefully it's at home. Hopefully I simply forgot it at home. If I lost my wallet, I'm gonna be so pissed. That is really not gonna be good. But it's possible that I didn't bring it with me, so I don't really know. Well, we're about to find out. Anyways, I mean, I didn't see it in the locker, so I don't know. But yeah, so my brain is pretty scattered. Maybe I didn't eat a big enough breakfast. Like, again, this is the first time back working out after a while. The last time I worked out at the gym, I actually did notice a lot more strength had been built and speed and everything. And I wasn't doing too bad the days that I took free from the gym. I wasn't eating unhealthy or anything. Nah, a little, but not excessive. Like, I give myself a day a week to do like McDonald's or something like that. And I think I've mentioned before, like Subway, those types of things. I try not to eat it, because I mean, I do eat it, but I know it's fast food, but I don't really consider it like typical fast food, like Chipotle, Subway, that kind of stuff. Even though it's technically fast food, let's be real, but it's not quite the same. It does have like veggies in it and stuff. But I don't know. I'm just gonna get home, shower, hopefully find my freaking stupid wallet. Get home, shower, and then get on with my day. As far as studying and everything, I'm gonna do that. Oh, I found my wallet. It's in the bottom of my bag in the wrong pocket. Yeah, I was pretty sure that I threw it in the bag, but okay, now I can rest assured. Now I just gotta make sure I don't drop all my stuff in the driveway or something. One thing that was funny, at the end of last snowboard season, I dropped my season pass in the driveway, and there's a little wall like lining one side of our driveway, and then a fence lining the other, to separate our yard from the driveway on the wall side, and then separating the neighbor's yard, because it's like a little hill, so our yard is actually elevated above the actual driveway, if that makes sense. And the wall kind of contains the dirt and everything. And so I noticed, I don't think I was looking for it, but I hadn't been like leaving the house like every single day, and it had been there for probably like 2 days or more. And this is during when kids were in school. We live in a busy area where people walk past the house and stuff. And it was probably like 2-3 feet up the driveway next to the wall. It was my season pass, and it was just there. It had been there at least overnight, if not 2 nights or something. I don't really know. But I was just like, wow, nobody took that. Because, you couldn't use it that season. I think the season was over. But you can still reuse them. But I guess technically it's of no use to somebody. Because it's like, when you renew it, you still have to have your old card. So it's like, nobody can technically use it. But, I mean, I feel like it was just kind of interesting that it was still there. Like, I would have expected somebody to steal that. But I don't know. So I've gotten lucky with some things, but I hate losing stuff. I think we all do. But yeah, I'm gonna maybe see what I need to do with my breakfasts. I usually have eggs or have oats. Like, I don't really have that much variety with my with my breakfast. Like, I'm not like super like, oh yeah, I need to eat like so much more of this or so much more of that. Like, I don't usually have a super variety. It's either like some eggs with, you know, what do you call it? Eggs with veggies or fruits, and or, you know, sometimes I'll add toast or oats or something when I want it to be like bigger. But usually my breakfasts, they tend to be quite light lately. So I haven't been having very heavy breakfast. Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. I knew not to come this route. I should have gone the route I took last time because I saw traffic. There was traffic before, and I thought it was just going one direction. And now I'm realizing, lucky me, that the traffic is going both directions. So at least I have other routes. I see the bulldozers driving in the middle of the freaking road. At least I have other routes that I can take. So I'm going to shoot over into this turn lane and turn back behind these stores and take the back road, because this highway is not even moving hardly at all. But I don't know. I'm a little I'm gonna have to figure out, you know, what to do about what I'm eating. I do tend to prefer like savory foods, but I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm kind of like, maybe I'm just not eating properly. I mean, yesterday for dinner, I know I didn't eat properly, but that was kind of like my weekly cheat day. I gave myself Monday night as my cheat meal, and then I was like, well, let me just end this whole like streak of not having gone to the gym for so many days. Let me just end it, you know, because I wasn't really on my health goals too hardcore those last days, and so I was like, let me just end it by doing that, you know. Let me just end it by, you know, just having a cheat meal, because I've already been kind of not doing everything I needed to strictly do. So let me just have a cheat meal, which is what I did do. I had a cheat meal, and I try not to have a cheat day too much, because then it's like excessive, like, you know. Or if I do, it's like maybe I ordered pizza and I eat it like for a couple of the meals or something, like for dinner a little pizza, for lunch a little pizza, you know, something like that. Even though it's like, I don't really want to do it that way, but sometimes I will do things like that, like, but I don't know, guys. I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, it's all, you know, a mind over matter game here. Like, it's all on me. Like, it's not anybody else making these decisions every day for my health. It's me that's making them or not making them, or deciding I'm going to do this or not do this, or deciding I'm going to do that or not do that. And, you know, I don't know. I try not to be too hard on myself about it, but also it's like, if I want to see the changes, and if I want to, you know, go into this new job field feeling more confident and alert and healthy and sharp, you know, it's going to be pretty hard for me to do that if I'm not following, you know, a pretty strict routine, and if I'm not just like on top of it. So that's going to be up to me. But I don't know. Like, I'm still noticing how much I'm just not a people person. Sometimes, like, I love hanging out with my friends and, like, community of people that I routinely talk to that I know, we all kind of value trying to understand each other and stuff, but I don't know, like, it's hard for me living with people that I don't want to live with, even if it's a good environment. It's still not like the easiest for me. And so I try not to make it too hard on myself, but I do have to, set goals, try to keep goals, and try not to get too off track, really. Like, a lot of this, again, it's up to me to do it. Nobody's gonna do it for me, but I'm definitely struggling, having a rough couple weeks. It's not as hard as some other times more recently, but some other times that occurred kind of more recently, but it's it's not perfect. Like, I am kind of feeling like, okay, I do have to push. I am having to put in a little bit of push effort, and I think I'm just kind of tired because I'm not sleeping good, and I don't know, I really don't like the way melatonin makes me feel. Even at night, it just feels like weird, and I'm trying to get a little used to it still, but it's just something that for me, I feel like I'm not getting used to it. So I don't really know. And I do have a doctor's appointment coming up, but it's not till like after the festival I'm attending in May. Like, it's like May 18th or something. And so shout out to decreased quality in healthcare from being between jobs. I am using Medi-Cal. I didn't want to pay out of pocket, so I'm using Medi-Cal, and it's just such long waits. Like, it's not as good as what I was using before, so that's just the price to pay for not paying a price. But I don't know. I'll figure it all out. But I'm gonna get on with my lunch hour or whatever, and then just kind of get on with my day. Yeah. But I guess that's it for now, guys. April 25th. Thanks for listening.